Let's talk about starter homes and the first building that you're actually going to construct and intend on using in Valheim on a new server, like day 2, day 3, some of the things you're going to want in this, and some of the different layout options that you will be able to consider when you're putting this together. And as you can see, I'm kind of testing out different builds, and I'm doing this a few different times to try out different chimney styles and different floor plans and different layouts of what is on the inside and how to kind of optimally sort everything as I'm trying out different builds. And I will do dedicated guides here on the channel how to build these from the ground up. So remember to subscribe if you want to see the actual full process. That'll be coming along very soon to walk you through it. But yeah, I think one mistake that players make, and I've definitely been guilty of this before, is when you're on a new server, sometimes it's tempting to get way too crazy and just go completely bonkers and build this massive castle. And before you know it, you've got a 30 by 40 wooden platform here that you're trying to build your starter home on. And what I would suggest for most of you, especially if you're new to Valheim, is just go small with your first building. You might see this and think this is crazy, but this is kind of like what you'd be working towards by day 10, day 15, and get it fully kind of flushed out. But you would be starting with what's in the middle here and not worrying about the perimeter here super early in the game, especially if you haven't even taken down the first boss yet. You would just start with the structure itself and you would build out from there. But yeah, my general recommendation is just get something down. Just start small. Even if it's super simple, if it's a square, it's okay. If it's boring, you're just trying to learn and acquire more knowledge. The more you build, the more you get used to things. You can slowly get fancier and fancier. So I would say the number one thing to consider when you're building your first home is to start small and practical. We really only have access to wood early game, and we can't really get into the Black Forest and get some of the things we would want in there to get super crazy here when we're on day 1, day 2, and super early game. So number one thing is start small and practical and just get something down. Then the number 2 thing that you definitely want to consider when you're building your starter home is you want fire for sure. This is going to be super important because you can keep that resting bonus that you see I just acquired. You want to keep that resting bonus permanently. That's just kind of a general tip when playing through Valheim. The resting bonus is completely insane. You can always check in here on the compendium, but you see there you get the health regen and stamina regen, going to help you out immensely at all areas of the game, but especially early game when you don't have access to good food and stuff like that. And then you also want to make sure, obviously, that you've got cooking stations on here so you can fire up your meat and acquire those different food sources. You want 3 different food sources. So having the fire in here to keep you warm and keep you rested and cook your food is definitely a necessity. And when you're planning your first abode, you're going to want to plan around how is this chimney going to look? How are you going to vent the smoke? Because Valheim does have the smoke mechanic in it. So if you don't vent the smoke, it is not only going to smoke you out, but it can also put out the fire so you won't even be able to take advantage of it. So kind of the first thing that I did when I was building this is I laid down the foundation and then I planned the chimney and I built up from there, and it was kind of the first thing that I did when building this house. Then after that, you are definitely going to want a workbench, and you're also going to want to leave room for at least a couple different upgrades here that you're going to be able to get decently early in the game, because what that does is it enables you to upgrade your stuff. It's very important to do things like upgrade your spear. As you can see right here, I've got a level 3 flint spear. That's one of the best early game weapons in the game, and again, I'll probably do a guide on fighting in the early game and what to kind of build up first. But very important to get this workbench down and have access to it very easily in your home, along with some space to craft the chopping block and the tanning rack so you can upgrade stuff early game. Along with also making sure that you've got a bed right here. You want to do this because if you die and you're way far out, you're looking for beehives or you're doing something crazy and you happen to die, you're going to spawn right here in your home and be ready to go. Then another thing that sometimes early game players are going to forget is you want to lay down this deer rug that I have right here, because what this does is it increases your comfort, and every time you rest, your resting bonus is going to last for longer. So definitely remember to place down this deer rug where you're going to be resting and acquiring that bonus. And then you also definitely want to have a quick and abundant storage area. Now, you don't have to go too crazy. I wouldn't right away, day 2, day 3, build some massive storage facility with 55 chests in it or anything like that. You just want to get down 5 to 10 chests, day 1, day 2, super early in the game. Give yourself a place to just throw stuff in here, because you're going to be trying to progress fast and get into the Black Forest and get into the Bronze Age. And then once you start building like your first actual real big base, that's when you can think about building like a dedicated storage area and all of that. But remember, the first thing we talked about, just be small and quick and practical and get things rolling. So you can just do something super simple like this with maybe like a 2-tiered system. You can place little ledges to have 2 different tiers of chests, and you can lay that second tier the long way like these ones on the bottom, but it looked kind of tacky, so I just placed them like that. And it kind of creates a look right here where I would put the most valuable stuff up top, and then I would just jam all the wood and the stone and the random stuff that I come across here on the bottom. But that's just kind of a quick way to lay everything out here internally, where you have everything you're going to need super early game. Then as we head outside, this is extremely important. You want an area for beehives because you really want to get honey rolling early game. It's one of the best foods that you can get for rummaging around your base and just kind of building or whatever you're doing, chopping wood, because honey is not only a source of infinite food as long as you've got bees at home generating it for you, but it's also a stamina food. You can see they're 35 stamina. If you're doing something like raspberries right here, see, I only get 20 stamina. So a very high stamina and very replenishable source of food. So early game, definitely prioritize moving around the map and checking the meadows that you spawn in, because ideally you're going to want to find 3, 4, 5 of these beehives and then get them placed down back at home as soon as possible, because you want to start the honey generation process. And then remember to clear them every now and then, because they max out at 4 honey a piece. So you'll come through here every day or 2 and clear them so that you're always generating honey, and then you can eat that at your base, and then you will have a really, really good early game source of food replenishing for you back at home. And if you do end up building a perimeter like this, like you see right here, you want to be careful and make sure to check your bees and click on them to make sure they're sleeping or they're happy and all of that. If it says the bees need more space, then you're going to want to make sure you give them more space to get out and fly around and have more airspace around the hive right here. Because if I place these stake walls all the way down here, it's going to say that my bees do not have enough space, and then they will not generate honey. So that's why I had to use these horizontal spikes instead of the vertical ones right here on the design. Otherwise the bees will not have enough space. And it's kind of nice because when you're fighting something, you can kind of kite around these spikes and then stay close to them like this, and when something comes around that corner, a lot of times they will run into these spikes and very, very heavily damage themselves. So it's kind of a nice thing to fight around here as long as you're careful, because these can hurt you as well. And like I said earlier, you don't have to go crazy with these spikes and this crazy perimeter right here. You mainly just want to start with what you see here in the middle and get something simple and practical. Start your honey generating, get your workbench down, get your upgrades, get your fire, cook your food, have your chests here for storage, and then you will be perfectly fine and set up to start progressing early game. And like I said earlier, I will do a dedicated video here on the channel very soon, walking you through the whole process from the foundation and all the way up to designing the proper chimney to make sure you're venting your smoke without putting your fire out, and kind of everything that goes into this process after you gather the food and you're ready to build a home like this. I'll walk you through the entire building process from start to finish. So remember to subscribe down below if you enjoy Valheim content, as I've got a lot of videos planned here walking you through how to play Valheim efficiently and go over all sorts of stuff to consider when playing through Valheim. So thank you for watching. I'll see you soon in the next video. Peace.